warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Lord of the world. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. Also the Honorable Vice and Manager of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Andalas University. We would recognize Honorable Head of Department, Secretary Department, Head of Undergraduate Study Program, and of Graduate Program of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. Also the Head of Office and Team of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences. We would also like to recognize Honorable Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Faculty Andalas University, academic staff members. And also, we would like to recognize the speaker of Mipa Academic Talk Series 4 with the topic Polar Bears and Climate Change, walking on a faster treadmill that has joined us here at Andalas University, Professor Merav from University of Wyoming, USA. Thank you and welcome to our college, Andalas University, Padang, Indonesia. Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Andalas University is one of the major public institutions of higher learning in Indonesia and the oldest outside of island of Java. Ladies and gentlemen, to inform you more detail about Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Andalas University, let's take a look on this profile video.
Inilah Kawah Chandra di Muka, di mana tradisi keilmuan mengakar kuat, melahirkan kreativitas dan inovasi tiada henti. Selamat datang di Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam Universitas Andalas. Kami adalah institusi sains terbaik di luar Pulau Jawa, bereputasi ASEAN. Didirikan di ibu kota Sumatera Barat, Fakultas MIPA Universitas Andalas telah menjadi bagian penting dalam sejarah pembangunan bangsa. Dan kini, melewati usia yang ke-65 tahun, Fakultas MIPA Universitas Andalas telah menjadi yang terbaik dalam pendidikan, riset, dan pengembangan teknologi. Fakultas MIPA Universitas Andalas adalah rumah bagi ribuan putra-putri terbaik bangsa dari seluruh penjuru Indonesia untuk berkarya, mengembangkan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi untuk kejayaan bangsa. Berdiri di kawasan perbukitan yang sejuk dan nyaman, merupakan wadah di mana setiap sivitas akademikanya tumbuh dengan rasa ingin tahu tinggi dan saling berintegrasi, melahirkan pribadi yang berinovasi dalam kemajuan sains dan teknologi. Fakultas MIPA Universitas Andalas telah berkomitmen menjadi yang terdepan dalam kualitas dan kuantitas penelitian akademis di bidang matematika dan ilmu pengetahuan alam. Menggabungkan prioritas penelitian di lingkungan Universitas Andalas dan rencana strategis pembangunan Indonesia serta agenda tujuan pembangunan milenium, penelitian di FMIPA UNAND memiliki visi menyelenggarakan penelitian dasar dalam mengkaji dan mengembangkan sumber daya alam untuk menunjang pembangunan berkelanjutan. Untuk mewujudkan visi tersebut, FMIPA UNAND didukung oleh dosen dan tenaga peneliti terbaik, mengembangkan penelitian pada bidang inovasi sains, inovasi teknologi mitigasi bencana, dan Inovasi Teknologi dan Industri. Sebagai jurusan tertua di Fakultas MIPA, jurusan Biologi menawarkan solusi untuk masalah yang secara langsung berdampak pada makhluk hidup dan kehidupannya. Dengan tekad menjadi jurusan yang unggul dalam mengkaji dan mengembangkan biodiversitas dan konservasi sumber daya hayati tropika, jurusan Biologi didukung oleh 40 dosen dengan berbagai bidang. Dengan dukungan 12 laboratorium, jurusan Biologi telah membuktikan diri sebagai salah satu jurusan biologi terbaik di luar Pulau Jawa bereputasi ASEAN. Sebagai institusi jurusan kimia terbaik di Indonesia, jurusan kimia FMIPA UNAND memberikan pengetahuan di bidang rekayasa lingkungan melalui penelitian yang difokuskan pada tema pengolahan dan pemanfaatan limbah, degradasi senyawa organik dan anorganik berbahaya, material self-cleaning, material dan teknologi penjernihan air. Kebutuhan dunia pada solusi alternatif guna mengatasi ancaman kelangkaan energi dan perkembangan dalam bidang teknologi mengilhami jurusan kimia untuk memperkuat penelitian di bidang sumber energi alternatif dan terbarukan, serta material maju dan nanomaterial. Dengan dukungan 38 dosen, menjadikan jurusan kimia UNAND sebagai jurusan kimia unggul dan kompetitif dalam konsep dan penerapan ilmu kimia berbasis kekayaan alam hayati dan non-hayati. Masa depan peradaban yang menuntut bahan dan energi ramah lingkungan juga mendorong jurusan fisika untuk membangun penelitian berkelanjutan untuk mendukung inovasi, sains, dan teknologi, terutama pada bidang material maju dan energi. Sumatera Barat, daerah di mana UNAND berada, merupakan salah satu daerah yang rawan bencana, terutama gempa bumi. Untuk itu, penelitian di jurusan fisika juga mengambil peran pada inovasi sains dan teknologi untuk mitigasi bencana. Dukung dengan 32 dosen dan peneliti terbaik yang terbagi ke dalam beberapa bidang keahlian, jurusan fisika terus berkembang menjadi jurusan fisika yang bereputasi tinggi. Selain menjadi media untuk melatih berpikir kritis, inovatif, kreatif, dan mampu menyelesaikan masalah-masalah, matematika merupakan fondasi besar bagi terciptanya dunia teknologi dan kemajuan-kemajuan di dalamnya. Untuk itu, jurusan Matematika UNAND secara proaktif terlibat dalam tindakan untuk memecahkan masalah di masyarakat dengan mengembangkan penelitian pada berbagai bidang. Dukungan 29 dosen menjadikan tekad jurusan matematika untuk bereputasi di bidang matematika teori dan aplikasi di tataran Asia Tenggara. Dimotori dengan semangat karya dan pengabdian, dosen dan mahasiswa Fakultas MIPA Universitas Andalas terus berupaya menghasilkan penelitian-penelitian yang inovatif yang diharapkan mampu menjadi solusi bagi berbagai permasalahan di tengah masyarakat. Menciptakan teknologi yang inovatif untuk kemudian membawanya ke tengah masyarakat telah menjadi nilai tertinggi yang dipegang oleh setiap sivitas akademika Fakultas MIPA Universitas Andalas.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dengan sinergi dan kolaborasi, kami akan mewujudkan visi dan misi Fakultas MIPA. Ada 3 hal yang menjadi visi misi Fakultas MIPA, yaitu yang pertama, menghasilkan lulusan unggul dan kompetitif. Kemudian yang kedua, mengembangkan sains dan sumber daya alam yang inovatif dan berkelanjutan. Serta yang ketiga adalah mendapatkan pengakuan internasional dalam bentuk internasionalisasi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give some applause to the profile video of Faculty and Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Andalas University. Moving to the next agenda, we will introduce the moderator who will take the program forward. He's completing bachelor and master degree of Biology department at Andalas University. Completed his doctoral program at Natural System in Nazawa University, Japan. Lecturer of Biology department of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Andalas University. Member of IUCN Author Specialist Group. Member of IUCN Indonesian Specialist Group. Southeast Asia Regional Coordinator of International Author Survival Fund. And member of Society for Conservation Biology. Please welcome Mr. Dr. Aadrean. Time is yours. Silakan.
Oke. Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, the honorable dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Science and Vice Dean Dr. Dipan and manager of academic how to say academic affairs, Dr. Diana, and lecturer from Faculty of Science, Mathematics and Science, Professor Mimi, Professor Dahelmi, and other lecturer, and also student of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, and another participant online. So I saw 45 participants. Yeah. We hope we welcome warming to all of participants from all of the world. I don't know exactly what is the participant, because the online system now, so anybody can hear, can see this seminar. So okay, first I would like to introduce our speaker. So the name of our speaker is Professor Merav Ben David. She is professor from the University of Wyoming from United States of America. So it takes long journey to come here. For flight, right? So she very special person, particularly on animal ecology, conservation. So she doing like 30 years for lecture. So you will expect so many experience from her. And she is a member of author specialist group. So if you are asking about author, so she worked long time on authors. And there is another special, I think I should say to all of you, because she is also how to say representative. So as you know, America, United States of America, there is two party, right? Political party, Democratic and Republican, and she is a member of representative of Democratic from Wyoming state. So that's a special case, I think. Good in science and also member of political party from the Democratic Party. So if someone of you can maybe there is interesting on the political, yeah, and Yeah, sorry, I deliver this seminars not so formal. Yeah, I'm thinking because nowadays we are heading up to election, so I think she can maybe give a lecture to political. That's my joke. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to waste our time for my introduction. So let's welcome and give special applause to our speaker, Professor Merav Ben David. So this is your chair. Okay. So today seminar, we will hear and show the talk about polar bear and climate change. So although polar bear is kind of animal that's far from us, it's in the polar region, but the climate change it's the global issue, including here also. So you feel now it's smoky, right? It's a kind of effect of climate change. So now we will learn about how polar bears, climate change affect polar bears, and the effect of the polar bear is increasing. Yeah, the title here is walking on faster treadmill. So yeah, it's increasing the speed of the climate change effect now. So we hope this speak is interesting, and we will learn many things. Okay, so now time is yours, Merav. You can please show the her presentation. So is it ready? Okay, yeah, it's time is yours. Okay, yeah, it's you are lecturer. Okay, well, wherever you want, you can. But
Yeah,
oh, okay, that's better.
thank you, everybody, for your hospitality and your kind for your kind treatment of me and my student Lindsay, who came with me to help and learn about more about Indonesia. So Lindsay. And what I want to share with you today is only one of many research projects that I've done on climate change effects on animals. This one is especially sad because the situation now is even worse. I'm going to show you some data from October 2023. Okay, so data that I got this morning. Okay, so what is happening to polar bears? Polar bears live in the Arctic Ocean. The Arctic Ocean has no land, it's all ocean, and it has ice. Usually it had ice year round, but with the Arctic is warming 3 times faster than the rest of the globe. So when we talk about average global temperature, a big part of the increase in global temperature is because the Arctic is warming faster than everywhere else. Can I have the next slide? So, one back. One back, not forward, back. Thank you. One of the things that determines if an animal will survive or die is body condition. And we know it from ourselves. For us, being skinny, being less fat, is actually considered good body condition. Okay? What it means is that we need to reduce our intake, energy intake, meaning eat less At the same time, we need to exercise more and expend more energy. In fact, maybe I'll have this. Yeah. In fact, if you want to lose weight, the best thing they recommend that you do is buy a treadmill and then put it on an incline and run on it. If you do that, you'll burn a lot more calories, and then you'll be in good body condition. That's for people. But for polar bears, the opposite is true. Next. For polar bears, they actually need to get really, really fat. And the reason is that they can eat. They need to eat a lot and reduce their exercise, reduce expenditure. Okay? Next. Polar bears, you may know, eat mostly seals, and the main part of their diet, nearly 80% of their diet, is called ringed seals. And what you see here in this picture is a polar bear waiting on a sea ice for a seal to come through a breathing hole, because the ice, the seals have to keep breathing holes open, and the seal comes up, the polar bear is ambushing it, and then as soon as the seal comes, the polar bear grabs it, and what you see, the blood on the ice, is what's left. Next. So the main prey is ring seals. They do eat occasionally. The big male polar bears can eat a bearded seal. The one on the top left is a bearded seal, and the others are a ringed seal. Seals keep warm in the Arctic Ocean, in the water, by having a very thick fat layer called blubber. If a polar bear is not hungry, it will eat only the blubber, like you see in that picture. Okay? So seals get very fat. Most of it is blubber, and that's what the polar bears like to eat. My colleagues in Stirling and Oostland, back in 1995, calculated that every year a polar bear has to eat either 29 seals or 36 seals if they eat only the blubber. I want you to remember this number, 29 and 36, okay? Can you guys remember this? Yeah. Yes. Okay, next. The problem is, for polar bears, that these seals are only available in very limited time of the year. The seals don't come up and sit on the ice. Most of the year they swim around under the ice, they have breathing holes. They only sit out on the ice. They come up in April, May, June, and July. So these 4 months are the most important months for polar bears to eat. That's when they can catch the seals. Next. And in the spring, they eat a lot of baby seals. So the mother seal comes, and she makes a den. She makes a breathing hole, and then under the snow, she makes a den, and she gives birth to their pup. And the polar bears go from one den to another and eat the pup, and when the mother comes, they also eat the mother. Not many of them. Remember, 29 to 36 seals. Next. And polar bears can only catch seals on what we call the continental shelf. That is the area of the ocean where it's not very deep, where it's shallow, okay? Like around the islands we were and the coral reefs we saw on Saturday. Once you get off the shelf, the Arctic Ocean is very deep, 3,000 meters deep. So the seals don't have anything to eat there, and the seals stay on the continental shelf. And the only time the polar bears can get the seals is April, May, June, July on that continental shelf. What you're seeing in that image is satellite tracks of seals how we track them from satellite and where they swim in the Arctic Ocean, and you see that they only stay close to shore over the continental shelf. Next. Now, many people, most people, all over the world think that the Arctic Ocean always has solid ice. But that's not true. Anybody who's been on the ocean ever knows that there is currents, tides, and wind. And the current, tide, and wind break up the ice into pieces that float around. Okay, next. And actually, if you went out to the Arctic Ocean, you will see some open water, some open leads, some big platforms of ice, but not only ice. Next. I want to show you this video. Can you find the video and play it? Thank you. This video shows you what happened to the sea ice over the last few years. In white is big, good, thick ice. In blue is thin ice that freezes and thaws every year. The ice always moves. And the ice moves around the Beaufort Sea to Russia, from Alaska to Russia, and then is transported out near Greenland. This is what happens. What is good for polar bears is white, thick ice, multi-year ice. And what you see here is animation of what happened to the Arctic sea ice with climate change. There is very, very, very little white left. Okay? Mostly blue. Let's play it again. By the way, this animation was made by the National Administration of Atmospheric NOAA and NASA in the US, and it's available online. Anybody can download these any day. It's freely available data for people. So again, you see the motion. Very important to think about the motion. The Arctic, it's going from Canada, Alaska to Russia, and then out next to Greenland. And again, there used to be a lot of multi-year good ice for polar bears, and because of climate change, the ice is getting thinner and thinner and is disappearing. And nowadays, I'll show you a figure, it's even less. Very little good ice. Next. No, next. Oh, okay. I think we skipped a few slides. No? Back, go back. One back. Okay. We'll keep going. That's fine. Not play the video again. Go to the next slide. Okay. Thank you. We put satellite tags on the polar bears, and we follow them, and then we delineate, we graph, we make a figure of the population home range. And we have 3 populations near Alaska. We have the Chukchi Sea. That population goes from Russia to Alaska. There is the southern Beaufort Sea, that's only in Alaska. And then there is the eastern Beaufort Sea that is shared with Canada. Okay? What you see in the dashed lines are the area that most polar bears in that population stay in. Okay? They try to stay in their core range. So you rarely will find a polar bear from the Beaufort Sea in the Chukchi or in Canada. Okay? Next. So, think about the ice video. The ice is moving, moving, moving. The polar bears live on top of the ice. What will happen if they stayed put, if they didn't move? If the polar bears stayed, they will go from Alaska to Russia, all the way out to Greenland, right? With the ice, they will drift out. So what do they have to do? They constantly walk against the ice. They always go from Russia back to Alaska, Russia back to Alaska, all the time. If they fall asleep on the ice, they drift, they have to get up and walk back, okay? If they want to stay in Alaska. If they want to go to Iceland, they can stay on the ice. But if they want to stay in Alaska, and they do, we don't know why, but they do, they have to walk against the drifting ice. It's like walking on a treadmill. Always walking on a treadmill, all the time. It's not like a deer or a pig, right? They walk around, but they live on land, and the land doesn't shift. Here, the bears have to walk against the substrate, against the ice. Next. Now, you saw the video and you saw the ice is declining. This is just to show you what happens through the year. So, in July, the ice starts melting. Well, it's a continuous melt to the lowest level that is in September. Usually September 10th, 9th is when the ice starts forming again. What you see here is all the years of data that we have. The dark line is the median of all the years we measured. The gray lines, that's the interquartile or the confidence intervals. And in blue, you see this year. In blue, you see 2023, okay? And you see that 2023 is not the lowest year. It was only the 5th lowest. The worst sea ice in the Arctic was 2012. But the lowest, next. Oh, I just wanted to show you how unprecedented, how abnormal, how not normal this sea ice situation is. In the blue line, this is sea ice reconstruction that we get from taking sediment cores in the continental shelf. So this is ice reconstruction going all the way back to 1900. And you see that there is variation, but recently the ice is just going away. In red is what we get from satellites. And you see how well the two data sets agree with each other. Now we only monitor with satellites, but we know that the satellites really match well with what we know from the previous. And you see, it used to be more or less stable, and it's tanking now. Next. And this is just to show you the last few years. As I said, the last 12 years, sea ice is the lowest, the 12 lowest values. And you can see, again, 2012 was the lowest, and 2023 is the 3rd lowest. Okay? So we are not doing very well in terms of ice in the Arctic. Next. So not only polar bears are losing the good ice, the ice that is left is thin, okay? And when the ice is thin, it floats faster, right? It doesn't have weight to keep it down. It floats much, much faster. So now think about the treadmill, and you just push the button and made the speed faster, right? Now you have to run more, okay? So we wanted to know, what is that doing to polar bears' body condition? Next. Just to give you another sad image. This is what happened to sea ice in the Arctic during the time we have the satellites. In black is total sea ice, so you see total sea ice is declining a lot. And the multi-year ice is a red line, and you see that it's very close to zero. So we really lost polar bear habitat. We really don't have much left. Next. So we wanted to know, is the drifting changes the behavior of the polar bears and affects their body condition? And what you see is that, next. I wanted to show you first how we study polar bears. If you can play the video. So we either fly helicopters from shore bases or we take an icebreaker. And we fly over the sea ice looking for polar bears. We follow the tracks, and that's how we can get close to them. And then we sedate them, we shoot them with a dart gun from the helicopter, and they fall asleep. And then we can measure them. That's a baby polar bear. These are all my students, PhD students. We take samples, biological samples, we put a satellite radio on their neck, and we slide it on, and then if they don't want it, they can slide it off. Some of them do. We take blood samples, we weigh them, and then we leave them to recover from anesthetic.
Like 460?
497.
Okay.
And this was taken. So from those collars, from the satellite collars, we got a lot of data on the Chukchi sea bears and on the Beaufort sea bears. We did not have enough data for the eastern Beaufort, so we left it. Next. And then we had to correct the data on the polar bear movements by the sea ice. So in the little blue figure above, what you see are the ice movement vectors, where the ice goes and how fast it drifts, okay? And in the other figure, you see how we have to correct it. In black is what the track of the satellite shows. In blue is the ice, and in red is the corrected polar bear movement. So after you correct the bear movement for the sea ice, you correct for them walking on that treadmill. Next. And this is a little complicated, so I'll spend a few seconds on it. In blue is sea ice. In gray is the track that we get from the satellites. Red is the corrected bear movement, accounting for the ice drift. The dark bars are the early period, before climate change got very, very severe, from 1987 to 1998. And the light bars, light bars are the more recent period when the sea ice is really being lost. And what you see is the Beaufort Sea is BS, and the Chukchi Sea is CS. And you see that between the two periods, sea ice movement is much faster, okay? The light bars are above. So is the polar bear track, and also the actual walking of the polar bears. And more so in the Chukchi Sea than in the Beaufort Sea. Okay? Next. But just looking at overall movement is not enough. Because remember, the ice is drifting to Russia, and the polar bears have to walk back to Alaska. So you only have to look at the east-west to get a real idea of what's happening. Again, the solid bars per month. Blue is ice, red is bear movement. And you see that in the current period, in the new period, polar bears have to walk more back to Alaska. They have to walk faster back to Alaska all months of the year, not just some months of the year, where in the upper figure in the early period they didn't. Now polar bears have to walk faster all the time, all year long. Next. Okay, so they walk faster. How do we translate that into body condition? So remember walking on a treadmill? We actually have bears trained to walk on a treadmill. So what you see in the image is a polar bear from a zoo, San Diego Zoo, walking on a treadmill. And when we took the data and we put a mask on their face, we could measure their oxygen consumption. That gives you an idea of how much energy they spend. So on the bottom is the speed of the treadmill, and on the Y is how much oxygen they consumed, both in our experiment and another experiment by our colleagues. Next. Okay, so you see very similar results. The faster the treadmill is going, the more oxygen the polar bear needs and burns more energy. And then there is a limit. Polar bears cannot walk faster than 6 kilometers an hour. So when the ice drifts faster, they have to give up, and they drift. Next. And that's how we translate it into energy. Okay, and we convert the oxygen consumption to energy expenditure. We don't need to get into the details, but it means that polar bears have to eat more seals. They have to eat more than 29 whole seals or 36 fat only in order to have good body condition. Next. In fact, I just want you to see the yellow, highlighted yellow. This is a table whether the polar bear has cubs or not has cubs. We did all the calculations for the whole year. A polar bear in a Chukchi Sea, a mother polar bear with two yearlings, two cubs that are a year old, 2-year-old, has to eat up to 85 seals a year. So instead of 36, she has to catch 81. They can't do it. Next. So what do they do when there is no ice? Well, they swim. And so we looked at the energy expenditure of swimming. And I want to show you the next video. This is one of our polar bears that had a collar on, and she swam from shore to the edge of the sea ice. Okay? It took her 9 days. Completely swimming all the time, no breaks, no ice to climb on. She couldn't stop. She swam for 9 days, and then when the ice came back in after September, you see now we're in October, she started walking back towards the continental shelf where the seals are. So just think about having to swim for 9 days. Without eating, without drinking, without resting. And more bears. Next. Do you guys want to see the video again? Okay, let's see the video again. Okay, so the Those green dots are the same bear swimming, swimming, swimming. Then she made it to the ice. And as the ice started forming back and was solid, she started walking back to the shallow part of the ocean, close to shore. Okay, next. So we went and looked back at our data from all the way back when we started tracking polar bears, and we did see a significant increase in long-distance swimming events. And swimming is very, very expensive energetically, and we got the bears from the zoo to swim, and we measured their oxygen consumption, and we found that it's 1.5 times more expensive, or close to 1.5 times more expensive than walking. Next. Next. So what we see in the Arctic Ocean, we see that those fat, good, healthy bears are getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, and some of them, of course, die. Next. So, how are we doing on time? Okay, good. So we wanted to know, can polar bears do what other bears do and go into what we call hibernation, where they stop walking, they rest, and they don't use much energy. And bears do that on shore. If they stay on shore, not like the one that swam back to the ice, they don't have to walk. They can spend the summer sleeping on shore like that bear in a picture. So we wanted to test what they do. Next. And this is known from a lot of other animals. Other animals go into a den. Polar bears stay out in the open. Next. But some polar bears stay on shore, spend the summer on shore, but others don't. They go on the ice. So what happens to them? So we captured bears in the summer, and then some of them went on land, some of them went on the ice, and we wanted to see what happens. Next. Next. Okay. So what we found is that, yes, bears do have a slight reduction in body temperature. And when you reduce body temperature in hibernation, you do conserve energy. Next. And here is what you see are the temperatures of hibernating black bears. And you see that the temperature drops and oxygen consumption drops. Next. And so we measured both oxygen consumption, and we put little temperature loggers in the peritoneum. We did the surgeries on the sea ice. It was very difficult, but we got really good data from it. Next. Keep going. This is what happens with hibernation. Walking hibernation, the temperature should be very low for a period and then go back to normal. Next. We only saw it in one bear that was on shore. All the other bears did not go into what we call walking hibernation. Next. 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 Okay, we also looked at blood parameters to see if they conserve energy that way, and we found that they do not. Next. All the parameters that suggest energy conservation were opposite of what you would expect, and so The red arrows show that it was lower than expected. Next. These parameters, fatty acids, were higher than expected. Next. All the liver enzymes were lower than expected. Next. And so we had to conclude that we found no signs of walking hibernation, so polar bears really cannot mitigate the loss of sea ice. Next. The bears on shore we found eat a lot of dead whales. What you see here is that bears on shore are really not fasting either. If they can, they will eat dead whale carcasses. Next. And these whale carcasses come largely from harvest by Inuits, by indigenous Alaskans. They hunt the bowhead whale for their own use, but they leave a big part of it on the shore and the polar bears take advantage of that. Next. So what we saw and what we see is that the polar bears are becoming smaller. They have smaller cubs, and the survival of mainly the cubs is lower. In fact, every single polar bear cub that I held in my hands as part of the research and measured many of the ones that my colleagues have handled never made it to adulthood. They died. Next. And that's why we see a decline in polar bear populations in many of the populations, including the ones we study in the Beaufort Sea. Next. So, I have to admit that I always liked, in the past, to be optimistic and encourage people to take action to stop greenhouse gas emissions by not using fossil fuels, because until this paper was published, we knew that if we stop, we may not be able to recover all the sea ice, but we can at least stop its demise. And we could stabilize the polar bear populations. But this paper was published a few years ago, and this year, 2023, something really happened to planet Earth. We have breached a tipping point. We have, I'll show you in a minute. I still think we can do things. I still think we can change, at least protect what we have right now by stopping fossil fuels and start using solar. Sumatra is a great place. You guys have a lot of sun. Should have solar panels on every roof and have a charger to your motorcycles and your cars, electric motorcycles and electric cars, and then you won't have the air pollution. And we won't have the air pollution if we change ours. So it's possible, we should still do it, but this year is making me feel a little nervous. Okay, next. I just wanted to mention and remind you that you never do research on your own, not in our day. Many colleagues, many students, many undergraduate students. Next. As I said, many undergraduate students worked with me on a polar bear project. Next. It was a big project that cost a lot of money and was funded by a lot of different agencies in the United States. Next. And this is what I wanted to show you, why I'm worried about 2023. This is the sea ice in Antarctica. I already showed you the Arctic. The Antarctica ice is just took a dive this year. And we don't know exactly why 2023 is the tipping year. Some people think it's largely El Nino. You know El Nino? This year started El Nino. It's the warm phase of the ocean in the equator, in the Pacific Ocean. But El Nino usually does not start until September. And what we are seeing here started earlier. So people don't know if it's El Nino or not. Other people said, we have started cleaning the atmosphere. We are no longer producing, especially in North Atlantic, we are not producing a lot of sulfur oxide. Sulfur oxide is blocking the sun and cooling the earth. And we had a lot of sulfur oxide as a pollution. It's terrible for human health. So they decided to take it out of gasoline, clean the gasoline better, usually diesel, take the sulfur out of diesel to make the air pollution less. And by reducing the aerosols, the sulfur oxide in the atmosphere, made it more so sun rays can reach the surface. And so we don't know. We'll have to keep monitoring, and we'll have to start really paying attention globally to stopping climate change. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Merav Ben David. It's a really interesting topic. So I was thinking about the faster treadmill. It's like how to say term to describe the climate change. But after we saw the presentation, so the bear itself actually working on the treadmill. So that's the new thing I know. Yes, I was thinking that's only describing the climate change is increasing, but yeah, that's a real condition. Polar bear walking on on ice, treadmill ice, because the ice is walking, and the bear should be walk if the bear want to keep stay on the Alaska.
In Alaska, if they
Whoa,
want to
it's
stay
amazing.
in Alaska, they have to walk back to Alaska. Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. So, okay, now it's time for discussion. So anybody can give a comments, question. Yeah, in this session, we will ask for 3 person. 1, 2, another one. Okay, 3. Okay, please have someone help to the microphone.
Okay, good afternoon, Professor. My name is Intan, Bachelor Degree Student Program, and I have a question. Is the polar ice caps are melting like it can be stopped? No matter what we do, it's still melting, and it's affecting the polar bears. So which should be safe first, the bears or the climate? Thank you.
So please repeat again. Yeah. The
Repeat-
question?
Okay, I'm sorry. The ice of the caps of the polar is like melting. Like we can't stop that. Like every year by years is still melting, and no matter what we do, and like it can be stopped.
Okay.
So that is really affecting the bears. So what should we save first, the bears or the climate?
Which? Okay. I get it. The point.
Thank you.
I figured it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we collect the question first, or directly? Which one do you like? Collect all the question, or
No, I prefer to answer.
okay? Yeah. Yes.
Without stopping climate change, we cannot save the bears. So we used the bears. We tried to use the bears in the past as an ambassador for the Arctic Ocean. Because people like polar bears, they're very cute, they're very charismatic. People really, they donate money for polar bears. They buy merchandise that has, polar bears. So we thought they would be a good ambassador that we can say, let's save the polar bears. What we need to do is stop greenhouse gases. We need to move to renewable energy. But it's very difficult for all of us to change the way we live. And so people were very sympathetic, but we didn't get much response. And also, the fossil fuel industry is very, very powerful. They basically own the government in the United States. They own the government in the United Kingdom. They own the government in the rest of Europe. They own the government in Nigeria. They own the government in Venezuela. They pay the politicians. And they had also, while we were trying to use the polar bears as an ambassador, they just had misinformation. And they had a lot more money. And so we could never get, even though people always cared about the polar bears, and it's hard to change the way you live. If the government came in and said, okay, tomorrow morning we're putting solar on every roof in Padang, and no more gasoline coming in the gas stations, but you give me your motorcycle and I'll give you electric one. Okay? If the government did this, Padang will be nice and clean and quiet, and we won't have pollution. So it's good for us. But you changing to electric and you changing to electric is not enough. It has to be the government doing this. Okay? And the governments are not going to do this as long as the fossil fuel companies are in charge. Okay? The only way we can change it is if we, the people, all over the world, it's not just the people of Indonesia, it's not the people of the US, it's not the people of Brazil. All the people of the world need to stand up and say, no more. We want a future for our children. I want you, every single one of you young people, to have the life that I had. You saw me in a helicopter, right? I want everybody to have that opportunity. I want everybody to be able to live a good life. Okay? So we together have to work as a global community. Forget where we came from. Forget that we have different languages, and work together. Otherwise, I don't know what will happen.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's clear now. Okay. Okay, next question or comments?
Okay, thank you for your opportunity. My name is Muhammad Rehan Sidik from Biology Department. Okay, my question is, what will polar bear do if the ice in Antarctic has disappeared? Will they adapt or will they not survive and eventually die? Okay, thank you.
That's an excellent question. We already have a bear that is not a polar bear that lives along the Arctic shoreline. It's a grizzly bear, and they are the smallest in the world, and the density is very, very low. Polar bears are huge. They're very big. They need a lot of food. There is just nothing on shore that will sustain them. They need to eat those seals. Without ice, the seals can't breed. They need the dens, the snow dens. So without seals, no polar bears. So they cannot adapt. And they cannot become another bear because there is already another bear. There is already some animal in that niche. Okay? So yeah, they are going to go extinct. We will not have polar bears. I have one of my colleagues who was part of this project, of course. He says, my nightmare is turning from a polar bear biologist to a polar bear historian.
Nightmare. Okay, yeah. So it will be extinct. Yeah, extinction. Okay, next question from Bu Yanti. So please help for microphone.
Hello, I'm Yanti from Chemistry Department, lecturer from the Chemistry Department. I recognize polar bear or see the life of polar bear starting by seeing a movie, animation movie. I think you know about it, A Happy Feet. And then I recognize the way of this bear, way of life of this bear, how they struggle to find food, and then to even in that movie they also start to bring awareness to the human being, how the ice changing also will affect their life. And then as you explain in very brief and also show the fact, the data about the movement of the ice, and then I realized, oh, they also walk like in the treadmill, and then we make the treadmill faster and faster, right? So the causing of this changing of this movement of the walking of the polar bear because of us, human being. But the awareness of, as you mentioned before, so we need the government in action, not just us. But that's difficult until the use of fossil fuel stop. But it's estimated it will not be stopped until the next 100 years or 120 years. So my question is, have the scientists or maybe in your field have been they predict or model what will happen to the polar bear for the next 100 years until this fossil fuel also not available anymore, until all the government change their system of the energy or entirely in all country into the renewable energy. And then come to my second questions. There is a study about the changing of this polar bear genetically based on the way of life have changing due to the speed of this shore. Yeah? Are there possibility this polar bear will be survive with the genetically changing due to this nature condition? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, so the polar bears cannot change. because, as I said, they are very big and they require a lot of energy to be in good body condition. And the only way to get that energy is from seals. And if there is no ice, the seals can't breed, so there is no seals. There are changes in the Arctic Ocean. We see more whales coming in that didn't use. Most of the whales in the Arctic Ocean are bowhead whales, and we are seeing other whales moving in, even orca, that weren't there before. But it's unclear how polar bears are going to be able to catch them. Polar bears can't catch whales. The only way they eat whales is if the whales were harvested by Inuits and are left on shore. So our models are very grim for polar bears. If there is no sea ice, if there is no good sea ice, the polar bears will not survive. But I'll tell you more. We don't have 100 years. When we modeled these, we projected the polar bears' populations, the sea ice, to 100 years. My students wrote papers, send them to the journal. The review takes a year, right? A paper in a journal takes a year and a half to get back from the reviewers. The papers on the polar bear movements, by the time the reviewers gave us comments back, there was no sea ice in the Beaufort Sea. We projected, in 2050 there will be so much less ice. By 2016, there was no ice in the Beaufort Sea. There is ice in Greenland and Russia, but in the Beaufort Sea in the summer, there is no more ice since 2016. We didn't send the paper back. It's in my computer. It's on that hard drive, but not gone back to the journal. There is no point. Now. The climate scientists predict that human food production, rice, wheat, potatoes, the staple food for us, will be reduced by 30% if the planet reaches 1.5 degrees centigrade. All the agriculture will be reduced by 30% if the planet reaches 1.5 degrees Celsius. The projections were that will happen in 2040. 2040. It happened this year. We are at 1.5 degrees Celsius. Social scientists predict that by 2050, 1 billion people will die. Maybe not in the United States. Maybe not in Europe. Although, no guarantee. But in Africa, in South America, in Southeast Asia. Most of the emissions come from the north. Most of the effects will be in the south. It's not justice. The people who contributed to the climate crisis, the least will suffer the most. So that's why we all need to come together. We all need to, you have elections, we have elections next year. When is your elections? Huh? November? February. This February? Okay. You have elections in February. We have elections a year and a half in November. We have to elect people who believe in science, people who care about the younger people, and people who are willing to say no more fossil fuels. This is the reason that I went into politics in 2020. I never in my life thought that I will be a politician. Never. I wanted to be a field biologist, a conservation biologist. I wanted to be in the forest, in the ice, in otter latrines. I never thought I'll go to politics. But I realized that people like me, who understand the science, who care about the younger people, who care about the animals, people like me need to be there to say no more fossil fuels. So I hope I'm not depressing people too much. I don't want people to walk out of it and say it's all lost. I want people to walk out and say, we have no time and now we need to do something. And just think about all the people in Padang, demand solar panels on the roof, demand electric motorcycles. All of you. We are not doing anything. There is no markets open. There is no to run to eat, no sticky rice, nothing until you do this. You, the government, you do this. Only then it will happen.
Whoa, amazing. Yeah, speechless. I'm speechless because of that. Okay, any comments or question? Yeah, someone from online. Yeah, if you have question or comments, you can write the comments and question in the chat Zoom. Yeah, please. Yeah, everybody in online. Yeah, if you have a question or comments, you can write question and the comment in the chat Zoom. Okay, while we are waiting the comments and question in the chat Zoom, yeah, anybody, any other comments or question? Any other comment and question? Okay, question. I'm a little bit interesting on politics. Yeah, as far as we know, some of people don't believe on climate change, and also that's a how to say challenge for us. And another challenge is some of people thinking about. I think that's a sort thinking. Like we say that we care about human first, don't care about animals. So how to deal with it?
So unfortunately, we're at the stage. I don't talk about polar bears anymore. I don't try to use polar bears as ambassadors. I talk about people. And if you look at the month of September 2023, and you see the damage from climate change everywhere in the world. This morning, flooding, Brazil, Bangkok, okay, Scotland, Greece, the damage from climate change. So you have the atmosphere is warmer, more water evaporates from the ocean, and every rain, regular rain, becomes a flood. India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkey, Greece, all over the world, Argentina, Paraguay, flooding so heavy that if you lose your house, you have nowhere to live because the insurance companies no longer have money to help you rebuild your house. Florida, hurricanes in Florida. All the insurance companies left Florida. You are in the richest country in the world, United States of America, and you live in Florida, and your house is damaged in a hurricane. You are homeless. You live in Taiwan, and the cyclone comes through, as it did 2 weeks ago, and your house is destroyed. There is no money to pay you to rebuild your house. Drought. Fires. Here, the smoke. And they say that the rain will not come for a long time. You usually have a lot of rain. It's not coming because of the ocean conditions. How many kids have asthma in Sumatra, in Padang? 10,000 children died in Sumatra in the previous El Nino from asthma. In Sumatra, 10,000 kids with asthma died. Think about the hospitals. 10,000 kids coming to the hospital with asthma attack because of the smoke. They couldn't take your daughter. So I don't talk about polar bears anymore. I talk about people. And I tell people, we need to do something for you, for us. It's not you, it's us. And you don't need to talk about polar bears anymore. And people that don't believe in climate change are a problem. And I've had many, many discussions. It's just they don't understand and they don't believe the science. And it's really difficult to look it in the face and say, this is dangerous. I prefer to go and have a party on the beach. But what are you going to do next year?
Yeah, that's the new thing I know. 10,000 kids died in Padang, 2016, in Sumatra. In Sumatra. Oh. Yeah, Saturday night I got accident to my daughter, so I should bring her in to 7 Padang Hospital, full of emergency patient, and in front of me, something using nebulizing, I think, yeah, it's like, and the right of me also. So yeah, it appears. Okay. Any other question or comments from audience in Zoom? Pak Baki, Pak Iqbal, Pak Syukri, Is there any question or comments?
No, thanks.
Yes. Hmm? Pak Sukri? Do you have question or comment?
No, thanks, Aadrean. I think, um, yeah, thank you very much for the very good explanation about the awareness for our climate change. And thank you, Professor, that you have make us knowing all needed to save our environment, especially about climate change. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, Pak Sukri. So, yeah, is there any question or comment, Pak Iqbal? You have question or other audience?
No, thanks.
Okay. Okay, Pak Rivan? Yeah, enough? Yeah. Okay, Bu Dewi?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I can open my. So, request. Okay. As Pak Aad said, yeah, almost, not almost, but speechless is the exactly word after listen your presentation. So thank you very much. This is our presentation of outstanding research. As a biologist, we are very worried about the existence of this acute species. On the other hand, your research carries message for our lives as a whole. Hopeful this scientist message is understood by leaders, as you said. Thank you very much for this very meaningful research.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Dewi. Professor Dewi is a geneticist. Okay, maybe you can join in the future, collaborate. Okay, I think this is the end of the our guest lecture. So now maybe you can make a conclusion or some closing statement. Yeah.
So again, I wanted to thank all the students that have been extremely hospitable and take care of very good care of, and I just as much as I hope you're learning from me. I feel I'm learning a lot from each and every one of you, and I really, really appreciate it. And I want you to know that you are the future, and you should not sit back. You should strive to be the best you can. Reach the highest that you can. Because it's people like you here, not me coming from the outside, but you here that can help your community. And so, again, thank you very, very much. I can't tell you how much I've learned in a week, not just about the food, but a lot about the ecology and the culture. And so I really, really appreciate it, and I want to thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Merav Bendavid. Yeah, please use applause. Yes, before we close this seminar, Professor Merav Bendavid here stay in Padang until 21. She is in sabbatical leave. So if you want to discuss more with Professor Merav, you can come to biology, because this week every 1:30 o'clock, yeah, 1:30. The time is 1:30. We do training statistics on data analysis and statistics and data analysis using R. So I think all of department can join with us using R, including mathematics and chemistry or physics. I think also can how to do R, and the example of the analysis on estimating the population number of animal. So I think you can suggest your student also. He come from mathematics department. So we have a collaboration on biology and mathematics. Okay. And then if you have a comment or just come to biology. You will meet Professor Merav. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Merav Ben David, for your how to say, inspiring topic, inspiring talk. So and make me speechless to comment it. Okay, thank you very much. I'm as the moderator of this seminar. Please say thank you for all of the attendants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to say thank you so much to our speaker, Professor Merav Ben David, and our moderator, Mr. Dr. Aadrean. Let's give some applause again, please. Moving to the next agenda, awarding certificate to the speaker and moderator by Vice Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences to Mr. Dr. Mahdifan Syafwan. It's your time. Ladies and gentlemen, moving to the next event, the awarding of prizes to selected audiences. Congratulations to Muhammad Rehan Sidik, Intania Azhara Putri Sanes, and Mem Syafri Zayanti. Please come to the stage. We kindly requested to the Vice Dean to provide the door prize to Mr. Dr. Mahdifan Syafwan. It's your time again. Ladies and gentlemen, Before we close our talk, let's take documentation section. Diinformasikan kepada seluruh peserta agar lebih merapat ke tengah. Finally, this is the end of MIPA Academic Talk Series 4 with the topic Polar Bears and Climate Change Walking on a Faster Treadmill. As a Master of Ceremony, Intania Azhara Putri Sanes, we say thank you so much for your attention. Good afternoon and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.